Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to another vlog on the go. And while I'm still in my childhood neighborhood of Marlborough Park, right here in Calgary, where the community center is, I did my Cappy Smart School video where I looked back on my 1 year I was at Cappy Smart. Well, it's time to go to my junior high school at Dr. Egbert. Yes, Dr. Egbert. This is where I went right after Cappy Smart School. This is the regular stream. This is where I went for grades 7 to 9. And I definitely got a lot to say about my 3 years right here at Dr. Egbert, as I definitely had a so-so time, but not the bland so-so time that I had looking back on James Short. I definitely went through my crap as a teenager and going through the ups and downs with that, but I do have some very interesting memories every year that I was here. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to end it off on a sad note. If you watch to the end, that it was a surreal experience my last year when I was here. But let's do my usual walk around. This is Dr. Gladys McKelvey Egbert. Now it's called a community school. It was a junior high school I was here. And then once again, things changed. I started coming here September 1995 until June 1998. Right after my 3 years here, I went to Crescent Heights High School. But now, when I looked on the CB website, this school now serves grades 6 to 9. As that time it was 7 to 9. I mean, at Cappy Smart, now it's K to 5. So I guess the run changes. But let's walk around. This is where I went for junior high, and I'm going to say grade 7 definitely was my roughest year. You know, trying to fit in, dealing, struggles as a teenager, and, teenagers in general, we're all jerks in a way. But, yeah, that was definitely a rough year. I mean, it's only a couple years after I was at Dr. Oakley, and now when I've been looking into more about people with learning disabilities, now it's more aware and looking more than been more open on it, that it's pretty common struggle to try to fit in. But I still enjoyed school in general, and everything that's changed with junior high is, I mean, it's the big jump from elementary right into junior high. Yeah, here's the main entrance, and I think I remembered all these windows definitely had the protective barriers. But yeah, this is the front entrance of Dr. Egbert. I started coming here in grade 7. One thing that's changed is that you have more teachers and options. That was definitely, different from elementary. Whereas, like, oh, neat, you can kind of pick your classes in addition to, your standard, well, they call it language arts, math, science, and social studies. But I know that I almost joined band, but I didn't. But I remember, shop class, and I definitely enjoyed shop class. And also trying to think, drama. Tried some drama, and then art. But I would say, grade 7 definitely was my roughest year. Definitely take a pass on that. But another thing it's different here, that there's no portables. Hooray, no portables now. I just didn't like portables in classrooms just because, the air is stale if you have allergies. It's either too hot or too cold, but there's no portables here anymore. But there was some when I was coming here. I just say grade 7 was rough. Although one fun memory I do have in grade 7 is when I was in language arts class, where that's what they call English, despite the fact that, I've always struggled in English with my learning disability, and it's a chore for me to read. I know people say I should read more, but I just don't enjoy it, and it didn't seem to help. But I know that in the language arts class, I remember we were talking about the Frank Slide tragedy in the Crow's Nest Pass, and we were thinking, wouldn't it be neat if we actually went there? And we actually went there. So I remember the Frank Slide tragedy, Turtle Mountain and the Crow's Nest Pass. If I remember, 1905, I believe. It's around there that, the rock slide buried the town of Frank in the Crow's Nest Pass, so you can look that up. But we actually went there for a field trip. So I could say that was probably the highlight of grade 7. But, you know, just going through my struggles as a teenager, I was glad grade 7 was over. And grade 8 was marginally better. I definitely was a little more involved in the community in terms of, well, this school, it was called the Elks, as the Elks Athletics. I was on the wrestling team. I did some track. Oh, there's a rabbit right here, but I definitely think grade 8 was marginally better, but still was not as good as my, I can still say my best days in school. Actually was not high school. It was my 3 years at Dr. Oakley, and I did enjoy my 1 year at Cappy Smart. But I definitely, you know, took my lumps here. But academically, I did all right. I showed that, you know, I had to work much harder, and I think because I have a learning disability, I had to sacrifice, you know, some things, social time, as I had to grind it out to go to school. I was not one of those students that afforded to be lazy, and so went by. If I did that, I would have failed. But yeah, right here, the portables were here. Because I remember these doors went into some portables where I had some classes. They're not here anymore. And this kind of playground area with the basketball hoops, that was not here because I think it was all portables. I remember this was all portables here the whole time that I was going to school here. So even though it seems to feed an extra grade, it seems like there must be less students coming to school here now compared to when I was coming here in the late 1990s. But it's going back. I mean, you can pat around, you get the general area of Marlborough Park, which is the heart of the community, near the dry pond. Ooh, the dry pond. I remember being told that was dangerous when I was going here. But yeah, grade 8, I mean, I was on track. I was on the wrestling team. Went through the different schools. I mean, I do remember that I enjoyed the wrestling, but I wasn't as strong in my weight class. I was always a little bigger, but remember going to different schools. I remember, you know, visiting Clarence Sampson, which is near Pine Ridge, near where I used to live after I moved out from Marlborough Park. But I also remember I went to a school called Colonel Irving. And the reason why that school stood out to me is it looked just exactly like Dr. Oakley in the gym. I think that goes back to, you know, the how schools are designed and many same firms make it. I mean, this school kind of looks similar to the similar architecture, same with the community center. But I also remember the Senator Patrick Burns School. But I remember, you know, having fun with that in grade 8, but still went through, you know, my struggles as a teenager. But grade 9 definitely turned out to be a very interesting year for many, many reasons. Because I remember grade 9, other than my science class and phys ed class, I had different teachers at the end of the year than I did at the start of the year. And the reason for that is, well, I remember one of the teachers I liked from homeroom classes and on the wrestling team, he was aspiring to be a principal. So I ultimately remember that, well, the principal at the time when I was coming here was named Dave Tidsbury, and unfortunately he passed away of cancer my last year that I was here. But ultimately the teacher that I had came in to be an acting principal, so we needed a new teacher for yeah, I think it was language arts that I had at the time. And then I remember I needed a different math teacher, so I'm not too sure if it was paternity leave or got injured. And then I remember an old social studies teacher that not many of us liked, that you know, I think she was getting up there in age and life was getting to her, so I think she took a leave. And so I had different teachers, but then ultimately, you know, the principal, that Dave Tidsbury, which I'll have to put an N in RP for honor his memory. You can see it in my yearbook, but he had cancer and had to take time off, and ultimately he eventually passed away. And that was kind of the sad end of my time here at Dr. Egbert. That and I also remember the service that we had in assembly. Maybe it's just recess talk. And I guess, you know, as you get older and you're a teenager, you kind of take some of the things you say back at recess about teachers saying bad things about it. But I remember, you know, the service, and there were definitely a lot of tears flowing from the school community. So I mean, that was definitely a sad day once we knew that the principal passed away. Unfortunately lost his battle with cancer, and I know some of the teachers that I had over the years, they were really sad about, you know, saying what he was like as a colleague. So that's why I say I definitely have lots of mixed emotions being here, because I had my struggles as a teenager, but academically I still did pretty well. I remember every semester they had like a, you know, ceremony to recognize awards. I wasn't on the honors tier, but I was in the tier below that. I always had something, which I'm going to say that was pretty good considering I have a learning disability. And I mean, did some work in the background to make it work for me with an individualized program plan. But I definitely, you know, say I was involved in the community. I mean, eventually got connections, you know, because a lot of people that went to school here either was in Abbeydale or here in Marlborough Park, you know, from Cappy Smart and Abbeydale School, that eventually we went on with them to Crescent Heights. And I think, I always say it's amazing that, considering I'm closer to 3 high schools here, that Crescent Heights is a few school, but I hear that one thing that's common is that inner city schools don't have as much about the outer city suburban schools, and the high school definitely has too many students. So I think that's part of that reason why I was ultimately glad I went to Crescent Heights, just because my family went there and still had some interesting memories. But I know that some interesting memories I have here, it's not all just doom and gloom, going through my struggles as a teenager. I think I remember grade 8. Yeah, it had to have been grade 8, because it was in phys ed class that we were just, you know, doing a phys ed class, doing some drills or something. And I remember the phys ed teacher, he told us to go into the shop class. I liked the shop teacher. He was a stereotypical male shop teacher, big tall guy. He had a bald spot in his head. What I remember from that gym class is that we were told, the teacher told us to all go in the shop class, running in, it was a grade 9 shop class, to go rub his head. So all of us students were coming into the shop class, all rubbing his head. Shop teacher's like, what the hell is going on? I mean, the gym teacher let us in. He was behind it. Maybe something was said in the lounge, or maybe you had to explain stuff in the lounge. But I remember that in grade 8. So that was hilarious. But I also remember in grade 9, this was weird. I chewed gum a lot, and I was giving gum away. And what happened was, I remember just before winter break, or Christmas break, there was always an assembly, and teachers kind of make fun of students about what they're known for. I mean, there was one student that I remember always known for having baggy pants, so that they made fun of. He had a cardboard cutout of a safety pin. Then I remember another student was always late, so they made a cardboard cutout of an alarm clock. Well, I remember grade 9. This was my last year here. I was called to the stage. They called some students to the stage, and then they talked about, you know, me with gum. I was like, uh-oh. So I remember getting in front of the school, and I don't have it anymore, but I think I might know who the teacher is, and I like the art teacher too, because I had art, and I remember him. He was a big biker, he was a stamp fan, but they gave me a big stick of gum, juicy fruit. It was a big juicy fruit gum, so I mean, it wasn't all bad when my time here. But like I say, my hilarious story was the gym class, going into shop class to rub the shop teacher's head. And I think I also remember I was in a shop class. I remember there was one student that he was in a wheelchair, and then the gym teacher came in. I know that he was going to do floor hockey, and I think he came into class, the gym teacher, to use the table saw to cut a hockey stick for him to play floor hockey. And I remember the shop teachers asking, what did he forget to do? And they're all singing, well, he didn't put his apron on. He's like, oh, he's a big guy, he doesn't need an apron. And they said, well, he didn't remember his safety glasses. But I think they were making fun of, it was the same teacher that was behind the, you know, rubbing the head. But he actually, you know, I think it was ultimately, he was saying he didn't ask for his permission to use the table saw. So that was weird. And I definitely had another funky teacher too that my mother also knew, that she was very, very weird with her fashion and that. I kind of liked her. I know that it was mixed within the student class, but she definitely had a very, very loud fashion. But I'm going to still say I had special teachers here. I mean, speaking of, you know, the one teacher that came in to be an acting principal at the time when the main principal was sick, had to take medical leave, and ultimately passed away. He eventually became a principal at another school because my mother, as I mentioned, she worked at CBE as a teaching assistant, so she had a connection. So some teachers definitely asked about me, and I'd say it's definitely satisfying that I've done what I did given the circumstances. But yeah, that's all I have for memories of Dr. Egbert. It was so-so, but not the bland so-so jeans short. It was either very good or very bad. I mean, I went through my struggles as a teenager trying to fit in, and then there was just stuff that, you know, I remember some students did that I wasn't interested in. I know I definitely didn't smoke. I didn't like that, and you know, I just trying to fit in, but I did what I did when I can. Still have some memories, you know, wrestling. I know grade 9 I didn't wrestle again because there was a work to rule campaign with a labor dispute, so extracurriculars was cut off, so I wasn't able to get to do that for grade 9, and then ultimately went to high school and going across the city and eventually working. And I did also work as flyers, but also I was the kid on the block that I guess people trusted me enough that I shoveled snow. I was the kid that shoveled snow. But then my neighbors also, I was called upon to, you know, house and dog sit for them when they went away. So that's also, I remember my time here. So yeah, this is pan around that the school's definitely a little smaller because there's no portables. But I do have mixed emotions looking back here. Just, you know, my struggle as a teenager. Fortunately, the principal passed away due to cancer, so I'll have to put that at the end of the video, and it's in my grade 9 yearbook as far as memory. And I guess one last thing that I also remember one time, I think it was the end of grade 8. I remember it was towards the end of the school year. I remember I went with my mom, my grandmother, we went to Wendy's for lunch. Wendy's on 36th Street. I guess that was the time when all the teachers here went to Wendy's as well. Again, the art teacher, definitely remember. I also do remember a social studies teacher with a very strong Irish accent. But yeah, I had some interesting teachers. It's just, you know, trying to fit in with the student body, and, you know, just we were all teenagers. And I mean, I had my struggles as a teenager, but academically I did all right. And that's how I look back on here for my time at school. So anyways, like I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, home of the Flames, Sitman, Roughnecks, and Stampeders. I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, but I also do variety of other sports content like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I also do showing experiences when I'm on the road or a sport event. And then I've been doing this vlogging on the go, and been looking back on schools from the past, and this ultimately was my junior high school. Not sure what it means now. It's called a community school. But I went here from grades 7 to 9. It definitely, I guess it was like, you know, teenager hormones. I definitely gone through all the emotions possible. But I managed to survive my 3 years here. I made it to Crescent Heights, and I'd say, looking back, my best days in school actually was my 3 years at Dr. Oakley. Just how it meant, you know, allowed me to, you know, cope with my learning disability and just enjoy school. And then my 1 year at Cappy Smart here definitely went down south, but it slowly picked up. But there was some other external factors that couldn't make it go up any higher. And then high school was okay, but we'll be going back to my old high school just to do a part 2 reflections now that I've done all the schools. So I guess in order of my school journey, I was at Snolta, then I went to James Short, then I went to Dr. Oakley, then I went to Cappy Smart, then I went here, and then at Crescent Heights before going to sea. I went through a lot more schools, even though I always lived here. But I think you know why. So as I say, if that all sounds like the interest to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, you know what you need to do, just make sure you hit like and subscribe. I also have my other social media links down in the description below. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll just have to say rest in peace to former principal Dave Tidsbury. It's been over I'm going to say 24 years since I left here. or 23, 24, because it was 1998 that my last day here. And actually I did not go to my grade 9 grad, just because looking back I was thinking it's only grade 9. I had a iffy time here, but I was ready to go to high school to continue on the family legacy of graduating from Crescent Heights. So as I say, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.